Hi, I'm Emily.
And I'm Mary.
Welcome to Chatterbox, an F1 podcast.
Box.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Chatterbox, where Emily and I chat and giggle about all things F1. We are back amongst other things. I'm so excited to finally be here, to be back in our normal zone. It took us a little while actually to set up. Like we were struggling just as much as Ferrari was struggling this weekend. But I'm so excited to be here.
We're back, everybody. It has been so long. We just realized we haven't done this since Canada, which was the second weekend of June. So I'm so happy to be back and together. We've been talking, obviously, but not as much as we usually have because I have been out and about in the world. But I'm back. We're back. We took 2 episodes apart, which is so bizarre. I just felt so weird without you. I listened to your episode without me and I was like, oh, this is weird.
I know. I had just listened to your episode with your mom, Wendy. I love her so much. But I was
She's
like,
an icon.
oh, like I was expecting to hear my voice after you talked. I was like, that's not my voice. Who is that?
I don't know how you did a solo episode. I really don't. I think I would have died. I had to recruit someone. I could not. Like, just talking to myself for 30 minutes. Kudos to you. You win the break period because I could not. But also, shout out to my mom for coming through and being our guest star. That was so fun. Really enjoyed having her here on Chatterbox Box.
Me too. Yeah, it was not cool talking to myself. Like I was staring into the camera and I'm like, ha ha ha. I'm giggling at myself. I'm like, Emily, I hope you laugh at this episode because I had to laugh at myself so much for hyping myself up all by myself.
Yeah, I really don't know if I could do it.
All right. Well, let's get into it. We have a little bit of recent news to chat and giggle about, and then we will jump right into race weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we have so much to talk about. I just have to say, this was my favorite race weekend of the whole season. Obviously, I am on the moon, but even just starting from before the race even started, we had so much entertainment. I think my favorite little media moment this week, and I don't know if you saw this, I don't even think we talked about this, was Lando and Oscar surprising a fan who missed her prom to come to the Silverstone GP. And they surprised her. They showed up in little bow ties and they like brought her flowers. It was so cute.
That is adorable. I love that for her. I'm a little bit jealous that I didn't have prom that I needed to miss. If there was prom though, I would 100% miss it.
Oh, 100%. But I also was very confused because are they still in school in the UK at this time of year? It's the first week of July. When we were still in high school, our proms were in like May and June. So I was confused by that. Someone please explain the British schooling system to me in the comments because I was like, wait, what? What do you mean she's missing her prom for Silverstone? And then I was like, is this an old video? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, that does seem a little bit strange. I always forget that school educational systems differ, like depending on where you live. It just seems so bizarre to me. I think when it was raining in Silverstone, I looked outside my window and was like, it's not raining here. The concept of how big the world is confounds me every single day, especially when I'm watching Formula One.
Yeah, if I think too hard about it, my brain starts to hurt, especially when it's like a night race and it's the middle of the morning for us. I'm always baffled.
Yes, you're like, how?
Like, what do you mean? My other favorite media moment this week was the video of Alex Albon talking about the F1 group chat that they have. I thought it was
Yes.
so funny. He was talking about how it's mostly businessy admin related, but occasionally they'll be complaining about the quality of the toilets at the races. And then he said they have like several different like side group chats based off of their various interests. So they have F1 drivers who play paddle has its own group chat if they want to meet up. And then they also have separate group chats for whoever is getting on which private jet. I don't think I realized that they're sharing private jets that much. I know, obviously, Max has a private jet. I believe Lewis does. I'm sure Checo does. And I don't think I realized that they were sharing. So that's actually kind of nice of them. Okay. Do they want to
Yeah.
share it with me?
I mean, for the Hungarian GP, I would go. I just need the
Fly us
private
to a
jet.
race?
Yes.
Yeah. We may be far apart driving, but we're only a 40-minute flight away. So they can just scoop you up, scoop me up, and bring us to Hungary.
Exactly. Or I could just meet you there. It's whatever. Whatever's convenient. I'll do it.
Pick us up. That's all I'm saying. I'll learn paddle.
There you go. I will sports.
Yeah, put me in the paddle group chat. Put me in the private chat group chat. I just want to know what's going on.
I will complain about the toilets. I am a toilet connoisseur.
Toilet
Restrooms.
hater.
Yes.
I just thought it was like so funny that was the only thing he could come up with that was like a non-admin related thing. It must have been something recently where it was terrible.
Oh, absolutely. Either that or they really don't care about each other. I know there are friends amongst the group, but I'm 100%, 1000% sure not all 20 of them are like besties. So if there's camaraderie, then it has to be like toilets or something.
Yeah, obviously. Absolutely. Who doesn't bond over the gross state of a public restroom?
Exactly. All of the girlies at the clubs, they bond in the restrooms. So,
It's true.
there's a trend.
It's so true. I love that for them. Did you have any cute media moments that you enjoyed this week?
I loved Lewis's one all red outfit. Perhaps it was a call to Ferrari, but can we just talk about how he made male cleavage a thing? I never realized that that was such an attractive part of a man's body, but he delivered, he ate.
Lewis
Godsend.
Hamilton, I don't think that there is one aspect of that man's body that is not attractive. Similarly, he posted another outfit this week and he was wearing a completely sheer top and his waist was snatched. And I have never in my life looked at a man's waist and been like, wow. But Lewis had me, he had me like, whoo, okay, Lewis. All right, Sir Lewis Hamilton, everybody. He came with the looks and he came with the speed this weekend and he came with the precision. And I love that for him.
Me too. The only other recent news that I wanted to talk about is F1, the movie.
I'm so sorry. What is that title?
They couldn't have called it Pit Stop. They couldn't have called it Lights Out. They couldn't have called it Away We Go. Just F1.
That is the lamest title.
It really is. And I know Lewis is more creative than that. Mission 44, Amave.
What is going on? They could have even named it Formula, and I would have been like, okay, cool.
You're like, oh, yeah.
F1, literally the laziest title you could ever come up with. They have to change that. They have time. It's not coming out till 2025.
Absolutely. Maybe it's just a teaser. Maybe they're like, y'all thought that we were calling it F1. Just kidding. It's called Lewis Hamilton.
I heard that Gunther was in the trailer.
Woke up this morning. I think I was pretty early to the announcement. Oh. I was like 10 minutes at the posting and I was like, oh, let me just take a look-see.
Yeah.
Through my groggy eyes, I see Gunther Steiner pop out of the little engineering pit wall. I was like, Gunther, is that you? A team
So he's
principal.
in the movie?
I think he is. I think
What a
I
legend.
also saw Max Verstappen in the little row as well. So maybe
That's actually mind-boggling to me because
it
this movie is like
is,
heavily produced by Lewis. So to have
right?
Max in it by choice, and also I feel like Max is the one who
Would
hates
never.
being involved in any sort of fun.
Exactly. I just think it's so strange. Maybe he doesn't like reality TV, but he prefers having like a biopic or he prefers playing himself in other movies. He has a niche.
Max has been really taking me by surprise recently, actually. Last week, that beef between him and Lando, I was very surprised with how he handled that. And I saw a quote, and I genuinely thought that this was a made up quote that like one of the girlies made up or something, but it was like legit. I think it was on Sky Sports or
Oh my
something.
god.
And he, just to paraphrase, he was like, all I'm worried about is if me and Lando are okay. Like I woke up and that was the first thing I checked on, if we're good. And I was like, what? This has to be fake. This has to be like a Norse Stappen fan edit or something. There's no way that he really said that. He actually said that. And I'm just confused about what's going on.
I'm so confused. I think that is so cute. I think from the last race, his responses to all of the commentators and the interviewers were so mature, which didn't seem like him because, not to talk about an old race, but it just seemed like he was so defensive for his position. Regardless, his words didn't really speak similarly to his actions, but I'm here for it. It sounds like Lando and Max are cool again, like they're at an understanding that sports will be sports, and I'm here for it. And it also seemed like Max provided Lando the space to overtake him today in Silverstone, which is he let a lot of people just overtake him.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Max. Maybe he's like getting emotionally softer with old age or something. Or I don't know if it's just because it's Lando and they actually do have a genuine friendship. I'm sure if it was any other person on the grid, he would have been his typical like defensive self that is more likely to blame the other person. I don't know. I've been a little surprised by his actions lately and confused.
Yeah. Yeah. Same.
Speaking of confused, I feel very confused about what is going on with Carlos Sainz. I feel that we bring this up every podcast, but every podcast I just get more and more confused. What is happening? Like, where is he going? Who is he going to sign with? We did get some exciting news this week that Haas signed Ollie Behrman, which I am super excited about. I think it's really great that we got to see him come in as a reserve driver when Carlos was dealing with his appendix stuff, and he's actually getting promoted up because last year when Liam Lawson came in and he got to race as a he got to race as a reserve driver for a little bit. I was kind of bummed that he did so well and didn't get promoted up. So it's nice to see someone actually getting the spot after doing well when they had the chance. But it's just adding to my growing confusion about like where is Carlos going? Because I don't know if he's going to go to Williams. I know everybody's saying that, but the rumor this week is that Kimi Antonelli is going to go to Williams for 2 years. Carlos is going to go to Mercedes for 2 years. And at the end of his 2 years, he'll switch over to Audi once they're like more established, and Kimi will move up to Mercedes. I don't know if I should be believing these rumors anymore because there's a new rumor about Carlos every single week. But also with Formula One, when there's a rumor, a lot of the times it comes true. So this is the one that I think makes the most sense and I'm hoping actually happens. But what do you think?
I think it's the most logical, but let me throw a wrench into these rumors. Checo Perez. There's also been rumors about how Daniel Ricciardo might take Checo's place, especially because Checo hasn't been doing so well in Red Bull. I know he's been quite comfortable. After he signed that 2-year contract extension, he just seemed to have flopped. I don't know if something got into his head, if he's full of himself or whatever, but now there's been some rumors trickling in that Daniel might actually take Checo's spot, either in the middle of the season or the next. And I don't know how I feel about that either. There's a lot of silliness in this silly season, but I would love for Carlos to go to Mercedes. I would love for Kimi Antonelli to go to a development team as well, just to see how things shake out. I believe Alex Albon is or could be a really good mentor. Like, he seems very calm, collected, very chill on and off track, a little bit competitive on track, but that'll definitely push any newbies. He seems to do very well with Logan. He's defended Logan as well in a lot of these interviews. So I think Kimi would fit there. And then Carlos would have the opportunity to stay in a top tier team, see how Audi's doing, and then, pave his way into a team that is up and coming.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. I haven't even considered that there's a possibility that Red Bull might walk back the Checo contract extension. Obviously, they can do that. I'm sure it would be a very costly decision, but it also at this point seems like it would be a costly decision to keep him in terms of their potential to win the constructors. It does seem like he's been flopping since the contract extension was announced, although it also feels that Max is, I don't want to say flopping because Max doesn't really flop, but he's not performing to what we're used to. And I don't know if that's other cars are actually catching up and doing a lot better, or if the Red Bull is failing and that's why Checo's also not doing well. But that makes me wonder if there are rumors going around of Red Bull rolling back Checo's contract. Maybe that's what Carlos is still holding out for. Because I've been confused that the only major team left with an open seat is Mercedes, and Carlos hasn't just announced it yet. Kind of confused what the holdup is. Maybe the holdup is that Red Bull is still on the table. I don't know if I can see Danny going to Red Bull because he has not really proven himself. He's not doing awful this season, but he's not consistently in the points. Yuki's typically doing quite a bit better than him. So I don't know. I did hear supposedly today, leading up to the race and the pre-race interviews and stuff, they were talking about that Logan is pretty far along in signing a contract with IndyCar. I don't know if that was just speculation or actual fact, but with the way this season is going and the shocks we've been getting left and right, I don't know if I would be that surprised to see Red Bull roll back Checo's contract and sign Carlos instead.
I think they might, right? I think they might sign Sainz. It could be a sign. I don't know. It rolls off the tongue. It feels nice. The other rumor I wanted to talk about, SD Bestie, we already know he's not renewing a contract with Alpine. Haas is the next contender. I read that earlier today before the race, and it is said that announcement might be coming up quite soon. But
wow,
I don't know. I guess if SD Bestie goes to Haas, Ollie Behrman would have someone that is senior to him that does have experience. But personally speaking, I would love if K-Mag had that seat. I think K-Mag and Ollie Behrman, I want to see that dynamic play out. I don't think Esteban and Ollie make a great match. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. It just, something is pulling me back from saying that makes sense. But K-Mag and
Yeah.
Ollie, cute. I love it.
I also heard rumors this week of Daniel Ricciardo going to Haas, like leaving the Red Bull family altogether and heading on over to Haas. And I think that would be a funny pairing, Daniel and Ollie. I could see him being like a fun older brother to the rookie.
Yeah.
But I would be sad to see K-Mag go because he's brought us a lot of menacing behavior this
Yes.
season and a lot of entertainment. And I don't think he's like, how do I say this? I don't think he's bad enough to be kicked out yet. You know, there are other drivers who are doing far worse than him that I think it would suck for him to lose his seat. But I think we're down to maybe only like 6 remaining seats. And someone's definitely out this year because we are bringing up a rookie. So someone is not going to be on the grid next year. And we'll just have to wait and see who it is. And somehow it just gets more interesting every week.
I'm excited. I think it's going to be so interesting. 2024, this season, is ushering in really good vibes for 2025. I don't know, like something about it. It's amping up for something fresh and new and exciting. This season has been so exciting. We have six different winners. Oh my gosh. I'm anticipating and I'm manifesting that Logan will be on the podium. At this point, we don't know. It feels like everyone can be on the podium. And I think Nico should definitely be on the podium. It's been too long for him.
I would love to see Nico on the podium. I think maybe with Audi, he can pull it off.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I have loved this season so much after suffering through the whole season last year of just 1, 2, 3 winners, mostly 2 winners the entire time. It has been so nice to have variety. This was our 12th race of the season, and we have had 6 different winners in what weeks people are winning. It's been variety on the podiums. Last year, it was a lot of just Checo, Max, and then a third person. So it's been really cool. Today, there were 3 different teams on the podium. I think there's been 3 different teams on the podium a lot this season, which I think is so exciting. And it's been really cool to see this kind of legitimate 4-way battle between Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari, and McLaren. Like a genuine battle where it really feels like any single one of those teams can win the race. And also, I feel that there's been a little bit of a difference where there's not a clear-cut first and second driver because both people on Mercedes have won a race now. Both people on Ferrari have won a race now. Oscar has come so close to winning so many times. He's right on up there with Lando. And really, interestingly, the only team in there that seems to have a clear, very good and not so good driver is Checo, which I think just adds to what we were talking about of, do they really want to honor that contract extension? Because I think that they might lose the constructors this year.
I think it'll be tighter with the WDC, but with the constructors as a whole, you're seeing all of these teams bringing in a lot of upgrades. It's so exciting to see, especially like Ferrari came in with upgrades and then they started flopping. Alpine came in with upgrades and it was better if they didn't upgrade. And similarly, like with McLaren, and like they're just all upgrading. And I think Red Bull as a team really has some competition, especially because Checo isn't pulling in his weight. What's the metric? Logan has qualified or out-qualified Checo at least like 7 times, right?
Yeah.
Put Logan in a Red Bull.
I would lose it. I would lose my mind. I would love every second of it. I do think Red Bull needs to take a nice long look in the mirror, okay? Because having Checo performing at this level was totally fine when Max was dominating in first place, because who really cares? He's getting first every single time. Your other driver doesn't have to get second every single time. But Max isn't getting first every single time anymore. I don't know. Maybe they should reevaluate that contract. I cannot imagine how much money it would cost them to break that contract. But I also, like I said, they might lose a lot of money keeping that contract.
Also, there might be a clause somewhere that will allow them to break the contract. It's not as if the new season started and they're trying to break the contract. It's preseason. There could be a stipulation that if Checo doesn't perform as well in this certain range for the rest of the season, there's a chance that they can revoke it. I'm sure, like, as a team, they have an excellent lawyer or a team of lawyers to be able to switch that on the fly. Like, we've already seen Logan's contract wasn't as Loctite, and he had to give up his car to Alex when Alex's car was damaged. Lawyers do a lot of sneaky things, and I'm pretty sure Red Bull would have a little safety clause in there to save their own ass.
Yeah, that's a good point, and I'm very eager to see what happens there. Should we talk about the race weekend?
Yes, I didn't watch free practice. Sorry, friends. It's just one of those things that if I have other things to do, I'm not going to prioritize that. But qualifying, we had a 1, 2, 3 British little starting grid. Loved that for us. I loved it. I think Lewis was a little bit upset because he was so close to getting pole, and George slipped right through. Then it was Lewis, and then it was Lando. And I thought that was so exciting. The fact that you had a 1 in 3 chance for our race winner to be British in their home race. So exciting. I don't even want to talk about Ferrari.
I don't know what is going on with Ferrari. I think Carlos is still performing pretty consistently with how he's been performing, but it seems that Charles broke the Monaco curse and Uno reversed himself into a new curse because what is going on with Charles Leclerc? I am so concerned for him. I thought for sure his luck would be better this weekend because Leo was back. But I guess that's not what happened. I'm really starting to worry that our celebration Charles Leclerc inspired tattoos jinxed him. I also would like to say, interestingly enough, since I got that tattoo, I have been having horrific luck as well myself. So Charles and I are like aligned on the bad luck. I feel like you've kind of been having bad luck too since the tattoos.
No, I had bad luck beforehand, and then it was just steady. No news, which is typically good news, but no news. And then it's just like this anxiety game, and it's like building up. But nothing particularly has hit me, slapped me in the face. Nothing too obvious. I think, unfortunately, you and Charles got the brunt of it. And at this point, we need to return to sender. Send that shit back.
Yeah, I'm literally about to go get like laser removal or something to see if that brings my luck back because I won't go into it here and bore people, but it has been like back to back bad luck, similar to what Charles is experiencing. I feel very aligned with him right now, and I'm kind of worried that the tattoos created this almost like Freaky Friday kind of situation where we have this like weird aligned bad luck, and I would like to send it back. I don't want it anymore for me or for Charles.
Yeah, I think it's so funny because I don't remember where he said it, but Charles said he didn't believe in luck at all. And at that time, he actually won the Monaco Grand Prix, but maybe that was just, I don't know. And we don't know what happens behind the scenes. Perhaps Carlos is doing better at gauging the little upgrades and tweaking his car. And maybe Charles is just not feeling the upgrades as much, or he's experimenting a little bit too much without understanding what the differences and what the nuances are there. But I don't like it. Every time I look at the tattoo, I'm like, oh, goodness.
Oh no,
I'm like,
what have I done? I know. And yours is in like a very visible place too, so you have to see it all the time, and you're like, oh no.
Yeah, I know. Luckily, it's more like people facing. Like it's not visible whenever I do my day to day. But if I'm in the mirror, washing my hands, and recording myself with shorter sleeves, I'm like, oh, yeah, I did that.
I just like I want to issue a formal apology to Charles Leclerc. If we caused this, I'm so sorry. It was not our intention.
We just wanted to celebrate.
Yeah, I need him to do better. I need his juju to come back. Please.
Yes, same. I don't want to jump around too much, but I really want to share this conspiracy theory with you.
Okay.
Why the heck did George DNF? I understand that like the race engineer and people on the radio said it was a suspected water system issue, but why would you take your driver out for something that is suspected and not confirmed?
I honestly really don't understand what happened there.
It was
And
so
I think
strange.
they just brushed over it. Like they didn't really explain anything. They were just like,
Yeah.
retire the car. And then the next scene is him getting out of the car and like walking away. And the weirdest part was that there were 4 people that were still so far behind him that there were shots of him out of the car walking away, and he was still higher up than 4 people, including Charles Leclerc and Checo. So that just had me
Yes.
messed up.
I was talking to another friend of mine, and when George retired, you could just see his name go down, and it was Pierre who was out. George
Mhm.
would have been the 19th, and it was Zhou Guanyu. But Zhou Guanyu was in 19th position for a long time before before George actually made it to 19th. It
Yeah.
was a very strange thing. I think the reason why I'm raising this conspiracy theory up is because of the lack of communication. It was just retire the car, George goes back and like pits, they leave, and then suddenly we just hear, oh yeah, it was a suspected mechanical issue, not confirmed. And why did that happen?
Yeah,
For
I don't understand.
Yeah. And why would that happen at a home race for both George and Lewis?
Yeah.
Because, and I love Lewis, I really do, but I really think it could have been a Mercedes 1 too.
Mm,
And if Toto made the call and said, George, let Lewis have this win, it could have happened.
mm.
But did
Yeah.
did things happen such that Lewis could be celebrated in all of his glory?
Honestly, I don't know because Merck has had major beef with Lewis this season, and the general conspiracy rumor of the season has been that they're sabotaging his car to
Yeah.
prioritize George. I don't know. I feel like if they had the chance to have one of their drivers win, I think they probably would have picked George. But there
Mm.
was that other element that Lewis broke a record with this win. So he is now the person with the most wins at a single track.
Mhm.
He's won at Silverstone 9 times. So maybe they wanted to celebrate that. I am sure they probably did address what happened. I didn't really watch the post race interviews. So they probably have addressed it. And there was a lot of rain, so water damage does make sense. But it feels weird that his car would be the only one water damaged.
Mhm.
Weird circumstances.
Yeah, very, very strange. I mean, you know me, I love a good conspiracy theory. So if I have a chance to trickle that in without any proof, I'm going to sprinkle it in. And I'm still going to celebrate Lewis as our race winner because I did not cry when Charles won Monaco. But when Lewis hit the final lap, he thanked everyone. You could hear how emotional he was on the radio. When he got out of the car, you could see how emotional he was during that interview. He was like, yeah, I gotta stop crying, man. And I'm like, you're making me tear up. I had singular tears, just like blop, blop. It was emotional.
Yeah.
He deserved it. I think we all needed this win as much as Lewis needed this win.
Yeah, this is our first Lewis Hamilton win. I know that there was a long period of time where it was happening every race, but it's our first one, and it was so great to see. And I think it really just reminded me of how much respect I have for athletes as someone who really is not athletic, doesn't play sports, never really played sports. I always admire athletes because they just have so much tenacity. I am a certified quitter, so I would have been given up by now. And I really admire him that he went, I think they were saying almost 1,000 days without a win after a decade of nonstop winning back to back championships. He went almost 1,000 days with not one single win and just like a handful of podiums and finally won again. And I think it's just a huge testament to not giving up on yourself, not giving up on your dreams, like persevering and trying your best and knowing that your hard work is going to pay off eventually, which is so heartwarming.
Yes, and I really loved what he said. I might have to find it later, but to paraphrase, he essentially said there were days where I didn't feel good enough. There were days where it really was hard to pick myself up and work hard, but it all manifested into this moment. And I am just so happy for him. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for Mercedes. I'm happy for that entire team. It must be hard having someone who is known, who has a reputation to be a winner in a car that you're building, and it's just not up to spec. It's not up to snuff. Like there's just something holding their drivers back. And finally you have George on the podium, and then you have Lewis on the podium, and it's back-to-back Mercedes winners. Chills. Mercedes must be celebrating so much. I think it is officially time to say, as much as you and I are back on Chatterbox Box, Mercedes is back, baby.
Yes, it is a great season to be 1644 girlies. Both of our drivers won their home races. Interestingly enough, we had swapped emotional reactions. Like when your favorite driver won, I was sobbing. When my favorite driver won, you were crying. I did not cry at this win because I think I was just in like disbelief. And I also think having so many different winners this season, it didn't really feel like as much of a shock as if he had won, like if he had been the first non-Max winner this season, that would have felt much more shocking. But I will say I preferred this race to Monaco because Monaco was boring. We wanted Monaco to be boring because we wanted Charles to maintain the win. But this was like, it could have been anyone's race at any given second. So there was that one point of time where Lewis took the lead and then lost it. And I was like, I'm not even going to get my hopes up. I'm not even going to get excited. So I think when he did win, I was still in, I'm not even going to get excited mode. And then my brain was like, no, like you can get excited. The race is over. I have to be excited now. So I am like beyond thrilled. I'm just so happy for him. I am so happy that I finally got to see my favorite driver win. Even though I know people are like, girl, he'd been winning, but I didn't see it.
It was so cute. This was such an exciting race. There were points in time where you were messaging me and I had other messages from other friends and I'm like, shut up. Let me just like focus, because I was very focused on like the top half of the grid this race. It was nonstop. Going to be the race winner. Who is overtaking? Is it going to be a McLaren 1-2? Is it going to be a Mercedes 1-2? Max, I will say he gave us an exciting race as well. I would have thought that he would have hung on in like the top 3 in the beginning of the race. And then at that point, I think he was just maintaining his tires and something was wrong with his car, like the setup of it, like it wasn't feeling right. And he let Lando overtake him. He let Oscar overtake him. And then finally, when it started raining, he was like, oh, let's go. And he started to push and push, which I don't know, like that to me, even if Max did win, or like even though Max was on the podium, I thought that he was fighting for his life. It was an exciting race to see, like just seeing him go from like top to bottom. There were times where I thought he was going to be 5th or 6th. And there were times where I thought Carlos was going to overtake him. And I don't know, I was on the edge of my seat the entire time.
Yeah, that was a wild race. And I thought it was so weird how Max really started to pick up when he pitted and switched to hards. And all of the commentators were like, why are they putting him on hards? There's 15 laps left. I'm so confused. I was confused. Everybody else went on softs. And I was like, what is he thinking? And then you just saw him like speeding up. There must be something with the car that it's like working better with hards. And obviously, I should have been like, they know what they're doing. It's Red Bull. But I was like, oh, they're stupid. And then, but I knew he was going to overtake Lando. Like, you could just tell he was getting so close. But I felt comfortable that there was a big enough gap that he wasn't going to make it to Lewis. And I was like, okay, I'm starting to breathe a little bit easier. I think it was interesting to see him have to work for a podium and not just get it from the grip. Very different from last year, for sure.
Yes, I 100% agree with you. He deserved the podium. We still got a British podium 1-3. So, you know what? I can't entirely complain. There was one point though, I don't remember where or when it was, but Oscar was squeezing himself in there. And I know you and I were talking about it, like maybe Oscar finally found British roots and it'll still be a British podium.
Yeah. Speaking of Oscar, McLaren fumbled today with their pit strategy. That one moment when Mercedes double stacked and they chose not to, I think lost them the race, which is really unfortunate. And you could just see it in Lando's face. Lando was livid. When he got out of that car and took his helmet off, he looked like he was having an existential crisis. There was a scene of him leaning over the car, just looking like he was in despair. And when they went in the cool down room, it was so tense in there. And I thought it was like the Lewis Max beef. And then I realized, oh, it's Lando, because Lewis and Max were actually kind of like joking around a little bit. Max was like, oh, you haven't been here in a while. And Lewis was like, yeah, because you're a ball hawk. And Lando was just sat there absolutely silent. So I think that's going to be a rough post-race meeting for McLaren, because they also really screwed over Oscar with the strategy they did with him. He went from, I think, 3rd or 4th to like 7th. That sucked. It sucks to suck for McLaren. Not thrilled for them. Really tough watch for them. But to be honest, McLaren's not even really in my top 3 teams, so I don't really care. But I know we have a lot of McLaren girlies listening here that are probably very upset.
I am very upset. Yeah, Lando was big mad. I think because he's had the taste of being a race winner and because he's so immature as a race winner. Yes, he's had experience. He is the primary-ish kind of driver. He's taken the mentorship leader position for McLaren, but not like he gets very antsy and desperate when he sees that his chance to win is slipping away from him. And I think, for example, Max or Lewis, they at least try and keep their head in the game. It's very much, I am doing all I can. I'm passing when I can. This is me, myself, and I. Whereas Lando is, oh yeah, Lewis sucks. Or like, Max didn't give me the space. And it's like, Lando, just focus on what you can do and change. and go from there. It was kind of funny because you and I picked up on the same thing when they were in the cool down room. Lando took a sip of his water and he uncapped his bottled water and then put the cap on Lewis's chair. I was
I
like,
was
that
like,
is so petty.
feels a little weird. I don't know if it was intentional, but I definitely clocked it, and I was like, "What is going on?" And then I was waiting for Lewis to sit down. I was like, "Is it gonna fall? Is he gonna notice it?" And they
Yeah.
kind of panned the camera away, so we didn't see. I do agree with you. I think that Lando he's not really a rookie anymore, so I think I would expect him to have a little bit more composure. But I think getting that win in Miami has really stuck with him, and now he's having a hard time when he doesn't win. And I get it, but there's 19 other people that have well, let's be real, there's like 5 other people that have a shot at winning. You're not going to win every race. Even Max doesn't win every race anymore. And I get it, obviously you want to be in first, but also like you're on the podium. I'm sure there are a lot of fans there that are thrilled to see you on the podium.
Mhm.
I saw a lot of McLaren hats and McLaren merch in the crowd. It's your home race. You're still on the podium. At least you didn't DNF like George.
Yeah, I know. It's so heartbreaking for me. I think once he gets used to the idea that he's not always going to win and the only thing he can do is focus on himself, it'll be a better experience for him. But
Mhm.
even Lewis, when he was younger, like he was rightfully upset as well. Like these are
Yeah.
athletes, competitive athletes, so it takes a little while for them to kind of
Roll with
yeah,
the punches, let it go. It takes
exactly.
a little
Like,
bit, which is fair.
yeah, reset that reality. I did tune into a couple of post-race interviews while they were all
Mhm.
traveling, and it seems like Oscar was okay with the McLaren strategy. He knew that if they weren't going to stack the pits, that he would struggle. But he also said that stacking the pits is also extremely risky as well. So he totally supported McLaren's strategy and it was fine for him and they can figure it out the next race. But this was a really tricky race overall. It wasn't like it was raining, but the track conditions were still dry and it was hard to time whether you needed the inters or the softs or whatever. The tire strategy was all up in the air. Charles struggled with it.
Mhm.
So, yeah, this was, I think, an exciting race because of the unknowns, and the rain and the weather contributed to that as well.
Yeah, it does not surprise me that that was Oscar's reaction because he is the most unbothered person
So true.
alive. I think Oscar is really good at focusing on, like you said, what he can control. And if the team makes a decision that impacts him, but it wasn't his decision, he didn't control it, he seems able to just let it off his back. I think
Yeah.
Lando maybe fixates a little bit on, oh, they made this decision that just like completely screwed me over. And it's hard for him to let go of that because if everything had stayed in his control and what he wanted to do, he probably would have had a different result. But
Yeah.
third place is still good.
It
I'm just
is.
saying.
It is.
I'm proud of
And
him. Shout out Lando.
yes, I'm so proud of him. And the interesting part about this race, too, is all of the race engineers asking
Mm,
their drivers, oh, well, the rain is about 4 minutes away. You'll probably experience it at turn 10, turn X. What do you think? Do you think we should pit soon? And
mm.
it was a lot of extra communication between the race engineer and the driver to be like, no, the track is still dry. Let's keep pushing. Or, yeah, it's starting to get slippery. Let's swap the tires out. So that was a really interesting and I think really refreshing perspective for me, too. It's not always about the race engineers and what's happening at the pit wall to say, oh, you're pitting. It is a lot of communication between, the driver as well to better understand what the driver needs.
It felt more collaborative than usual,
Yeah.
or more than we hear when they play the radio snippets. So I thought that was cool. It was very interesting, and I think it helps to alleviate the team made this decision and I had no say, blah
Mhm.
blah blah, that can happen. So that was cool. The other big race highlight for me that no one is going to be surprised that I'm bringing up is Logan Sargent being so close to the points. So close to the points. I thought that we were finally going to be able to pull up our bingo card and cross off Logan in the points. Side note, we don't have anything new for our bingo board. So, in case anyone was wondering, we have a few repeat things we could have crossed off, but nothing new. I thought Logan was going to pull it off. I think this was his best finish ever. When he got into Q2 yesterday, I was so happy for him. And it seems to be on the heels of some pretty heavy rumors that he'll be leaving and going to IndyCar. So I'm wondering if this is going to have any change in that, if maybe they'll consider keeping him. I think that he's growing and he's learning and he's trying and he's still really new. I feel that he's like starting to find his stride. So I would hate to see him lose his opportunity. But if he is losing his opportunity, I'm glad he's going out with a bang.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. This feels like the most American way to celebrate our nation's birth. We were so close to the points, and that perseverance, that energy. Logan was head over heels ecstatic coming out of qualifying. He was like, oh my gosh, I did that. I did it. Woohoo. And then I hope he like brought that same energy into the race. I hope he feels proud of himself. I do have a Williams shirt underneath, but it's full of fur. So I felt the need to celebrate the Mercedes win and cover that fur up. But yeah, it's, I don't know. I have joy. It was a very joyous day. I can't say anything more other than that.
So celebratory, so happy for Logan. He makes me feel very patriotic. I don't feel that often. Speaking of patriotic, I have to talk about, we've been hearing the British national anthem more often recently on the podium. And every time I hear it, I'm like, did we steal this melody? Because it sounds exactly like the American, it's not like our anthem, but like one of those little like American fanboy songs. Like, I don't even know what you would call that, but I feel like we would sing it in like middle school and elementary school, like chorus, that like from sea to shining sea song that's like about America. I think it's called Let Freedom Ring or something. I don't know. Why do they sound the exact same? Did we literally steal their beat?
I have no idea. I think it is, well, growing up, I knew it as My Country 'Tis of Thee.
Yeah, that song.
Yes. Every time I hear it on the podium, I'm like humming along to it. I'm like, how do I know this? Because it's not as if I hear the Monegasque anthem and I'm humming along to it, or the Italian anthem and I'm humming along to it. I was like, I know this. Like, I like really know this. But yeah, it's so interesting. Did we rip it off or did the British rip it off?
We had to rip it off. It had to be some like snarky like F you to England. Had to have been. This is just like my first experience watching international sports. And so I've not really had any exposure to the British national anthem. Maybe I've heard it in the Olympics and not registered it before, but it blows my mind these past 2 weekends. I'm like, wait, what? Why did we rip them off?
I'm here for it. I don't hate it.
It's so funny. I feel like more people should be talking about this.
Yes. Well, at the end of the day, a British win is an American win.
It does feel very funny to have a British win at the British GP on 4th of July weekend. It feels a little weird.
Just a little. But, you know, a British win is an American win. It translates.
Yeah, they're basically like our parents. Exactly. May have a little bit of a messy relationship with them, but I think it's cleared now.
I think there's no beef. I have no beef.
Yeah. My final question for you is, do you think that the British royal family should have been on the podium with Lewis? Because, you know, in Monaco, the Prince of Monaco was up there with Charles, straight up crying. And I was watching the race with my mom, and she was like, why isn't the British royal family there? And I was like, oh, that's a good point. Do you think they should have been there?
I think they should have, but I think it would have made more sense if Queen Elizabeth was alive. She knew how to party, and I think Lewis has met her before, right?
Well, she had to make him a sir, right? I think that was her
Right?
who did that.
I think so.
know.
And they had a dinner together. Regardless, if it was anyone from the British royal family, it would have been Queen Elizabeth. And I'm 100% sure she was shaking the champagne with Lewis up there.
What an icon. I did get a little glimpse of British royalty with Amelia Clark, who played Daenerys Targaryen in Game of Thrones, was in the McLaren garage, and they put out a very funny little video with her saying, I wish this was the end of Game of Thrones. So that was kind of funny. And also, what is that guy, Mr. Bean? Is that his name, the comedian?
Yes, Rowan something.
Why was he George's guest at the British GP? That just makes so much sense.
Maybe they're related because there's some resemblance. Like there's some facial resemblance. One last thing from me when George DNF'd and he like took off his gear and his helmet. Why did he sashay away? He was like, oh, it was part sad, part sass, but part, oh, the world is my runway and I need to make a good impression.
He is really leading into your conspiracy theory.
Right.
I always refer to George as like the Lizard King because he just gives lizard energy to me. And now that we're on this silly tangent, I have to also bring up, speaking of lizards, that Danica Patrick has been rumored to be let go of her F1 commentating job because of her podcast that she put out where she was very seriously preaching this conspiracy theory about lizard creature humans. So I just know Jensen Button is like fist pumping. So
I think
happy
we are
about that.
all fist bumping. I don't know what choice that was. I think anyone else would have been a better female representation, but that's just me.
I think that's all for me for this GP since we have descended into sleepover silliness type vibes. Do you have any other takeaways from the GP?
No, I think that is it. I'm so happy for Lewis. I think there might be a conspiracy theory in the midst, but don't tell the cops about this theory, all right? It's between the Chatterbox box community.
If there is a conspiracy theory, I want in on it, and I want to know how else we can make this happen for the rest of the season, and can we bring Charles Leclerc in on the conspiracy?
For real. All right. Well, that is it for me. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. There's not going to be a recording from us next week. We're going to take a little bit of a break after this triple header, but we will be back in our regular locations for the Hungarian Grand Prix. I will talk to you all then. Over and out.
Bye.
Let's finish it up on a high.